Good morning. Today's Friday, August 7th, and let's talk true crime today. And what better shirt to wear for this topic than my attempted murder shirt? I'm going to be honest with you, this wasn't planned, but it worked out. So, I have a bachelor's and master's degree in criminal justice. I spent 4 years working inside a maximum security prison, 3 years with the State Bureau of Investigation, where I did not do investigations there, and 1 year supporting the Drug Enforcement Administration, where I had insights to a lot of things. So, my worldview has been shaped by firsthand experience with people at their most extreme, vulnerable, and unpredictable moments. True crime isn't just entertainment, it's a window into patterns, motivations, and hidden layers of human behavior. Over the years, I've learned that crime reveals more about human nature than most textbook theories ever could. The biggest aspect that has shaped my worldview on crime and human nature is the hands on experience with criminals. My experience in working in a prison helped me realize that we are all one decision away from being in prison. You may not think that's true, but I promise you it is. One of the biggest lessons from working in corrections and investigations is that people are rarely just good or bad. I met individuals who made horrifying choices but showed compassion, intelligence, or remorse. I also met people who seemed polite and stable yet carried dark motivations between the surface. Crime forces you to confront the fact that humans are layered, contradictory, and shaped by far more than what appears in a case summary. Although I will not name names in this vlog, I can recall working inside the prison and meeting a person who was in prison for murdering his best friend. He was only a few years older than me at the time, but he showed remorse. He understood that his actions were horrific, and although his substance abuse likely contributed to the choice, he did not blame them. He showed ownership. Whereas my dog went crazy. Sorry about that. I also met more than one serial killer, and there was no remorse, just pure black eyes that told you they didn't care about you or likely anyone else. So, across hundreds of different interviews, meetings, case reviews, and also prison interactions, remember, I'm combining everything I've ever done with criminal justice. One pattern is really undeniable. Environment creates conditions, and conditions influence choices. Poverty, trauma, unstable homes, lack of support, or even sheer desperation often played bigger roles than innate criminality. Now, this doesn't excuse behavior, but it does explain how people end up on paths they never imagined. I'm sure we can all think back to a time when our environment influenced a choice we made, whether for the better or worse. So, in both investigations and prison settings, control, loss of it, or hunger for it was an underlying theme. Crimes driven by fear, dominance, survival, or retaliation all trace back to someone trying to regain a sense of power. Understanding of this changed the way I look at motivation in general. People simply want to feel like they matter, like they belong, and like they have control over their lives. These dogs, I swear. This is a part of our daily lives. We seek control of situations, and when we don't have control or feel we are spiraling, it can lead to anxiety, depression, or outbursts in behavior. The real interesting aspect of this from working in a prison is the battle that some individuals have with control, and thus they exert the control they have through being tough on those who are incarcerated. I often think this was a lack in their own lives, so they have to play badass at work. It is always a good reminder that prisons are to keep people in, not to continue their punishment, which was established by the court system. I think that is imperative to remember if you're going to ever work in corrections. Working with offenders taught me how invisible many people feel. Some committed crimes simply because they believed no one cared about their struggles or pain. Even when doing investigation type work, suspects responded differently when treated with dignity. True crime shows us that acknowledgement, being seen and heard, can change outcomes in profound ways. In our own lives, we are struggling. We want to be heard, seen, and allowed to vent. This is not an excuse for criminal behavior by any means, but it can help us all relate to each other on a human level. My goodness, are you okay, puppy? Across my career, I witnessed moments of genuine change, in my opinion, but true redemption always began with accountability. Those who confronted their choices directly had the highest chance of transformation. I also should note here that I worked part time as a person who did investigations for Child Protective Services. And I think this is where I saw the most remorse is someone who was struggling and perhaps put themselves and their children in danger and then had to learn from that. So I want to take a moment that this isn't just about prison and horrific crimes or drug related crimes. There are other things that I've done that I don't always talk about because that was a hard job. So wanted to just insert that here before I move forward. Because honestly, this taught me that human nature is flexible, but growth requires honesty, responsibility, and intention. Now, I will be honest with you, I'll never forget about being in a Walmart and hearing someone call me CCO Young, which was my name while I worked in prison. And I immediately stiffened because, first, the only person that would say that would be a former incarcerated person. The people I worked with knew my name. Second, you do not know their intention just by hearing your name called. I turned around and it was a formerly incarcerated person, and they told me how they were out, which was pretty obvious. We're Walmart, and that they were doing good and had a job, and they seemed genuinely excited to just turn their life around. I honestly cannot tell you how happy that made me. I understand the majority, and when I say the majority, I mean 95% of incarcerated individuals are going to be released. And I'm so happy that some of them want to make a positive change in their life and not return to a life of crime. True crime has given me a raw and filtered education on human nature. People are layered, environments influence decisions, fear and control shape behavior, acknowledgement matters, and change is possible if accountability is present. My years in the criminal justice system taught me that understanding people requires curiosity, boundaries, and compassion. Crime isn't just about what happened, it's about why it happened and what it reveals about all of us. Although, in a lot of instances, we'll never really understand the why. So, with all that said, let's end today on a positive affirmation. And that is, my mind is filled with brilliant ideas. I hope you all have a great day, and I will talk to you soon. And just know that we're all one step away from prison. Scary, but true.